Hi everyone, I'm Francesca and this is Atelier and Cool. This is my May wrap-up. In May I read 6 books and the first two were a reread, and they are Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban and The Goblet of Fire. I gave them both 5 stars. As I said, it's quite difficult to rate the Harry Potter series, but probably my favorite of all the 7 books is The Prisoner. This is still in the happy part of the series, but we are understanding that the things are becoming more complicated. Harry starts to discover something about his parents' death, and we are introduced to two great and dark characters who are Remus Lupin and Sirius Black. And there is quite action in this book, and I think this is perfect for preparing the reader to the 4th book, which is really action-packed. And the 4th one, the thing that never ceases to amaze me is how J.K. Rowling is able to manage so many characters all at once, giving some depth to everyone, also to the minor or side characters as well. The only thing that I didn't enjoy so much about the 4th book is that Snape is less involved in the story, and I obviously get why that is, but Snape is one of my favorite characters, is one of the more complex, and I can get enough of him, so I would have loved to see more of him in this particular book. Then I wanted to participate in the book Buddiathon, which is a readathon hosted by Elena from Elena Reads Books. But unfortunately, my buddy and I weren't able to complete our reads during the required time, so we decided to just read 2 books at our own pace. And we chose 2 books because since she is Russian and I'm Italian, we decided to read one book from Italian literature and the other from Russian literature. And we chose the Club Viscount by Italo Calvino and, A Country Doctor's Notebook by Mikhail Bulgakov. I don't know if I'm saying right. I'm sorry if I don't. The Club Viscount is part of a trilogy called Our Ancestors, which includes also The Non-Existent Knight and The Baron in the Trees. And Our Ancestors is an allegory of the modern man that uses a fantasy imagery to explore the moral world of the men of the 20th century. And the main theme of the Club Viscount is the integrity of human soul, the constant battle between good and evil. The setting is medieval Italy, where Medardo di Terralba, the Viscount Medardo of Terralba, decides to join the Christian army in the Turkish wars. And on the first day of fighting, he is split in 2 by a cannonball, and the doctors are able to recover one half of the man, and by stitching the wound he can return to Terralba. And so after these terrible injuries we have 2 halves of the man. One is the bed, is called the bed, and he is the first to return to Terralba, and he is completely evil. He always tries to kill his nephew, his young nephew, who is the narrator of the story. He terrorizes his people and he punishes them always by hanging. He has like this thing for hanging people. The other half is the good, and he will return to Terralba in a second moment, and is the total opposite of the other half. He is really good and compassionate, but is kind of mellow. He's not a strong character. He's just too good, too soft as a person. And the problems start when both of the halves fall in love with the same girl, Pamela. Even if the book is quite short, we have many other characters which are depicted in a really funny and witty way. It's a really funny story. I really recommend you to read it. And the message, Calvino's message, is that no one can be just good or just evil. Men have to learn to accept themselves and the others, and understand that everyone feels lacking in something, because this is the human nature. Let me know if you are possibly interested in a more in-depth review of this book, or maybe also in a read-along of the trilogy Our Ancestors. I will be glad to host a thing like this, so please let me know. The next book, as I said, is A Country Doctor's Notebook by Mikhail Bulgakov, and this is a collection of stories related to the period of Bulgakov life when he was actually a doctor. And the setting is rural Russia, a village in the middle of nowhere, where the young and inexperienced Dr. Baumgart is sent after graduation. And there are 9 stories in the collection, each one related to one particular or unusual case that the doctor has to solve during the year 1917. The thing that I most appreciated about this book is the writing style. It is really straightforward and direct and not at all flowery, and from the first paragraph you get exactly the feeling of what the author wants to describe. The key elements that connect all these stories are first the cold, isolated environment in which the doctor has to live, completely different from the city with all its comforts, and then the fears of the doctor, who has to perform very difficult medical procedures with no help except few nurses, and also the education theme, because the doctor always tries to go back to his books and tries to remember things that he had studied, but in the end Bulgakov remarks that what really makes the difference is being in that situation and doing something. And then another important theme is the cultural difference with the people of the village, because they are country people, very diffident towards medicine. They are superstitious and stubborn, and obviously opposite to the educated, the young doctor with great views. And there are many descriptions of gruesome situations in details, but you can help but love this young doctor, his compassion, his desire to help people, to make them understand what he's doing. There is also a great sense of tragicomedy that runs through all the stories, and my 2 favorite stories were The Steel Windpipe and Morphine. Especially Morphine, I think it was great. It is probably the darkest story and is about a colleague of the doctor who has a problem with drug addiction. And this is, I think, I read somewhere that this is partly autobiographical, because Bulgakov had problems with drugs as well. It's a very fast-paced story, focused on the downward spiral of a man incapable of accepting his new situation, who finds comfort in using. And it is very tense. You really feel the struggle and the pain of this man. I know that there is a TV adaptation of this book starring Daniel Radcliffe and John Hamm. I haven't watched it yet, but I think I will probably watch it because I really enjoyed this book and I gave it 4 stars. Next, I finally finished Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery, and this book didn't start very well for me. I didn't enjoy the first part. First of all, I was expecting a single plot developed throughout the book, but instead the chapters are in chronological order, but they tell just some events and some situation of Anne's life. They are not a single storyline. and this at first I didn't like so much. And also the Anne's character, it was a good character in the first half, but she's so annoying at times that I couldn't connect to her very much. But then the second half changed everything, and I ended up giving the book 5 stars. Anne's character has a great development. She starts doing different things except of just talking and creating problems. She relates in a different way to other characters. She grows as a person and as a character, obviously, and really, and the ending, oh my god, it was like a crying feast for me. I was sobbing with huge tears rolling down my cheeks. It was a horrible sight. The writing style is amazing. It's really beautiful, and especially Anne's speeches, how articulate she is, the fact that she is not capable of stick to the point while speaking, it's hilarious. And I think being this children's literature, the imagination theme is wonderful, and I think this is what probably makes the story compelling for a child. The other characters are also well portrayed. I especially loved Marilla's character. She has a beautiful development during the story, but also all the other background characters who in a way serve as a chorus for the story, but are really important and really well depicted. The last book that I read is A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf, and this is the March or April, I don't remember right now, read for the Feminist Orchestra book club, and I'm clearly behind with the book club reads, but I don't know what took me so long to read this one. Probably I find it to be not so easy at first, especially for a non-native reader, because even if this is non-fiction, it is not written in the typical essay style, but Virginia Woolf creates a narrative to address the subject women in fiction, and this is more like a stream of consciousness with the author and all her thoughts jumping from one to another. So it's not the easiest read, but I really enjoyed it, and in the end I gave it 4 stars. The main thesis expressed in this book is that a woman needs a certain amount of money and a room of her own to shut down her family duties to become an author. And Virginia Woolf brings many examples to sustain her opinions, and she analyzes the male-dominated literature and men's opinions about women. Probably the thing that I found most interesting about this book is the discussion about gender in writing and how the author's sex should or should not influence his writing. And I really agree with her when she says, "It is fatal for anyone who writes to think of their sex. It is fatal to be a man or a woman pure and simple. One must be woman manly or man womanly." And then she says here, "Some collaboration has to take place in the mind between the woman and the man before the art of creation can be accomplished. Some marriage of opposites has to be consummated. The whole of the mind must lie wide open if we are to get the sense that the writer is communicating his experience with perfect fullness." And I find this really interesting, because in my opinion you are not supposed to know or to care, for what matters, if the author is a man or a woman, because in the end it's the work that has to speak to the reader, and the ability to speak to a wide range of people is not just of women or men. It has no gender. So this is a point very interesting for me, and if you have something to say, please do, and let's chat about it in the comments. These were all the books that I read in May, and please let me know, as always, if you have read any of this book. I'm quite happy with my May reading, but I'm still waiting for that mind-blowing read. I'm really excited for the month of June, in which I have two buddy reads planned. One about one of the shortlisted book for the Bailey's Women's Prize for Fiction with Liz from Now Voyaging, and the other about an historical fiction on Tudor England regarding Elizabeth I with Nicole from Darker Brain. So I'm really excited for June. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, ciao!